Here we have our aftermarket Yudu compatible palette. Now this aftermarket palette is compatible to the Yudu machine. It's great because it's steel. It's laser cut steel, exactly formed to fit the contour of the pins on your machine. Now what does that do for you as a screen printer? Well, a steel pallet's going to hold heat. It's going to resist heat a lot better. Obviously, a standard Yudu palette is made out of plastic. Now if you're going to be flashing or curing the ink on the palette, that plastic's going to melt, right? Because the ink cures at about 320 degrees and that's very hot. It's too hot for plastic. So what this does is resist heat. This enables you to do multiple color prints by flashing on the palette. Let me demonstrate here. Now, right here, this palette traditionally has the foam underneath it, so you can still use it as an off-contact tab. We've actually made a special palette because we put some masking tape on the back of it. Now, this tape is called Platen Tape, and this tape is easily put on with a roll, taken, and then it's masked onto the palette. That's going to allow you to protect your palette, clean your palette a lot easier, and also allows you to draw on your palette. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a T-square, we're going to take and make a center line onto the exact center of the palette here. So we've centered our palette, we've aligned it, and now put a little sticky down, and then we're going to show printing, flashing, and then printing again on a black shirt to get a nice, beautiful white ink. So first things first is we'll take our shirt and we'll put it over the palette. So we'll take this palette off one more time here. Fits once again snug. It's not too heavy, and you think a palette like this, because it's made out of steel, it's powder coated, it's got a real nice finish to it. It's easy to clean. It's exact. It will resist heat. I think a palette like this would be a lot more expensive than the standard plastic palette, but the thing is it's not. It's not that much more expensive than the standard palette that the Yudu machine traditionally comes with. This one's just going to last forever because it's steel. So it's going to last a lot longer. It's going to give you a much more precise print. So we're taking this, we're aligning it to the center of our shirt here, and then we're going to put this back on, of course. Now you can get multiple palettes, so you can have shirts lined up and ready to go, or you can just get one palette. It just depends. Now once again, if I'm aligning my center marks here, I'm going to move the entire shirt at once so that I'm not getting my shirt off center, and then I'm going to take it and it's going to stick down to the sticky on that palette. Now I use spray adhesive. You can also use the spray glue, but when you're screen printing traditionally, it's very good to have a nice contact there. Now we've got it aligned back onto the marks here in the back. We'll take our screen down. Now, we didn't take the time to tape this screen off or anything because this is just for demonstration purposes. But what we'll do here now is we're going to flash print using white ink. So we have plastisol white ink we're actually using. This is Ryonet white. It's extremely creamy, but the great thing about it is it's opaque, versus the standard Yudu inks, which are not opaque whatsoever. But the key to getting it opaque onto the screen is to actually flash print. Now, once again, if you flash print on a standard Yudu palette, what's going to happen? Well, that palette is going to bow because of the heat. We're going to be using a heat gun. You can also use an iron. So we're going to take this and we're going to flood the screen up like that. Get some ink moving through the screen. And then we're going to do our first print. And then we'll lift this up and show everyone here. Now that's traditionally how white ink looks. It's not super opaque. But if we take our heat gun, what this is doing what's called a flash cure. That means it's gelling the ink just enough so that we can put another coat on it. And whenever you put two coats on something, like when you're painting, it always looks better, right? So we're going to gel cure this just enough so it's not wet anymore. And this heat gun's very, very hot. It spits out, 600-700 degree heat. The hotter you get something, you can also use a flash dryer. You can Google or YouTube flash dryer. You can see how a flash dryer works for the screen printing process. But this is an effective and affordable way. These heat guns are about 35 bucks or so, not too expensive whatsoever. And then as long as you tack this up, you're good to go. So you don't want that ink to be coming off on your hand. Right now we're good. The ink's not coming off on our hand whatsoever. So then we're going to take down our second print here, make sure our image is lined up, and then we're going to complete our second white ink print. So that's just 2 coats of white, and look how bright that is. So much, much more bright. And it's very nice, soft, and smooth, like a professional white ink. Now what happens when you don't tape your screen off? Well, you get ink around the edge. That's what screen tape will do for you if you just simply tape the screen off if I was being lazy and didn't tape it off. But we're going to use a product called Plastisol. Plastisol will remove ink out of a shirt. This product works for wet ink, typically works a little bit better on dark garments, and it works for Plastisol ink. So to see the ink that I got here, check this out. First of all, I'll just spray it, and no more ink. Pretty cool, huh? Now that will air dry. It will also dry in heat or a dryer. It does not leave a stain. On lighter garments, it leaves a little bit of a stain, but that stain traditionally washes out. Well, that's how to clean up mess. I had ink all over my shirt, no more ink. The thing we're going to do now is we're going to do a final cure. So traditionally when I do a final cure, I like to take the shirt off, but I can also leave the shirt on as long as the shirt's not touching the pallet. So I'm going to pull the shirt off so we have some room between the pallet, and that allows the heat to penetrate the shirt during the curing process. So next we're going to take the heat gun and we're going to cure. You need to rotate the heat gun over about each section of Plastisol ink for about 25-30 seconds because that ink has to reach 320 degrees, so it has to get fairly hot. So as you notice right here, I'm working on just the eye. I'm working on just the eye because if I move the heat away from that, it's going to lose its heat intensity and cool down. So that's good right there. You can actually smell Plastisol when it starts to cure. It's kind of cool because it definitely has a very distinct smell. And when you learn what that smell smells like, obviously it's very hard to describe what a smell smells like. But when you learn when that smell or what that smell smells like, then you can know your ink is cured. But also show you after we're done here how to tell if that ink is cured or not. But you do each section for about 30 seconds or so, making sure it's entirely cured. And then this shirt will be done. Now once this ink is cured, it's going to be professional. It's not going to wash out. It's going to stretch. And as you can see, it's very bright and opaque on the garment, which is a great way to make sure your customers are getting a high quality garment, similar to what they would get into a store. That's done using Plastisol ink, our aftermarket Yudu screen, which is much higher tension, which allows you to print this thicker Plastisol ink down, and our aftermarket Yudu palette. Now, keep in mind, we've been spraying, actually not spraying, but curing this shirt right here with 320 degree heat on this ink. In our palette, because it's laser cut steel, does not affect it whatsoever. So we'll take this shirt off here. So you can see here, the palette is not, it's not warped at all, perfectly straight. It's awesome. It's great for doing this type of printing. It's way, way better. It will last forever. So here we have our cured shirt, ready to go here. Now, how you tell if it's cured or not is what you can do is you can slightly stretch the ink. And on these thicker inks, the flash print like we did our first coat, then we flashed it. If it stretches like that, then the ink is cured. Now, if the ink breaks apart, that means it's under-cured. So right here, it's cured all the way around here. Now, see what happens when I see that bottom part there? That's not cured all the way. So we need to take our heat gun and go over that section a little bit more. But that will start to wash out a lot sooner than this heart right here because this is cured all the way in. It gets a little tricky with that heat gun. That's why if you're doing a lot of production in screen printing using a flash dryer, conveyor dryer, or even taking a shirt and putting it in your oven, you can take this, put your oven to about 400 degrees, bake your shirt after you're done printing with it for about 35-40 seconds, and that will cure your ink. Now, you don't want to touch the oven, obviously, because it's very hot and will burn you, but you want to be very careful. You can put this in on a cooking tray or something like that. 35-40 seconds, 400 degree heat on the bake setting will bake the shirt nice and toasty. Once again, you still need that heat gun to do the cure on the pallet, and the aftermarket Yudu pallet is the only way to do that because the Yudu pallets, they're plastic, they will warp, you will ruin them. They're fairly flimsy, whereas this is very stout. So a great way to get professional shirts with your Yudu machine using white Plastisol ink, an aftermarket high-tension Yudu screen, an aftermarket palette, a heat gun, some palette tape, all available from our website, silkscreenansupplies.com on the Yudu Aftermarket Supply page.